Hello friends, welcome back to 3 on Thursday, or if this is your first time, welcome to your first time. 3 on Thursday is a crafting class that I do every Thursday, and we make 3 cards. I give you the measurements and tell you what products I'm using. At the time, well, normally I would say at the time of the video, but at least at the beginning of the day, all of the products were available. That may change, and it might change rather quickly with Close to My Heart going out of business, closing its doors. So if there's anything that you're looking for or have questions about, please let me know. I would love to help you with that. Let me turn down the volume on my phone. Okay, so it is the last Thursday in March, so that means that this is your last chance. Well, this will be the last video at least, but you are soon to be running out of options to get the stamp of the month with or without thin cuts. And so this is the stamp. It is super cute. You have a number of different chicks, some daffodils, and a few sentiments. We're going to use the Happy Easter sentiment today. And just to give you a non-glare version, so each of these that have that are blue have a thin cut die cut available to purchase. So this is super cute set. So we are not actually making this card in this video today, but I wanted to show you because we did make this card in the LFT group that Danielle, myself, and Pauline run. It is a free group, and we have a lot of different tutorials. The majority of them are video tutorials, and yeah, we have lots of fun challenges and inspiration and whatnot there, so we would love to have you join us over there. So I just thought it was fun to look at and thought I would kind of show off what fun we had earlier today. So let's talk about what we're going to need for our first card. So we are going to need the Stampin' Up, not Stampin' Up, the Stamp of the Month stamp for the Happy Easter, and we need the Honey Bunny card making set with the thin cuts as well, although you can make this card and fussy cut. It wouldn't be too hard. We're going to use the large wreath here. So like I said, we are going to use that. We are using the colored pencils. So these are the few that I used for this card. So we have Woodland Green, Nettle Green, Foliage Green, and Leafy Green, as well as Rosy Blush and Flint Gray. And those come from 2 packs of the pencils, the Natural Landscape and the Perfect Portrait. I've had a lot of fun with these pencils, so if you are needing some colored pencils, I highly recommend the Colorista. They are made by Spectrum Noir. I do have them in my store, at least I did earlier today, so definitely worth checking out. So for this card that we're doing, we are going to use some linen ink, and then while I know that you can't get either of these things from me anymore, most of you probably have something like this in your stash. So we are using the Versamark ink and some Princess Gold embossing powder. So with all of that said, let's go ahead and get started on our first card. So I do have the wreath on a 3x3 block. Oh, this one doesn't actually have the stats on. I'm pretty sure it's a 3x3 block. And let's see, where's my... We are going to do a different size today. So what I have done is taken a regular card base and I have just trimmed it down to 3.5 by 5.5. And this is kind of a nod to this card here, which is in the originals book. Also no longer available, but once you have a book, you generally keep it in your, in your library of inspiration. So this card is actually a 4 3/4 by 3, so it's 3 wide by 4 3/4 tall. So I just kind of adjusted it and made it a little bit bigger. Pauline challenged me to make this card today. So we have our card base. We have an inside piece that is 3 1/4 by 5 1/4. We have a piece of Honey Bunny that is 3.5 by 3.5. A piece of White Daisy for our wreath that is about 3 by 3. And then we have 2 small strips. So the pink is the zip strip for this actual piece of paper. And then we have a 3/8 by, and it's purple, it's bleh. It is 3.5 because I didn't trim it down because I'll just use my scissors for that. So let's go ahead and get started. So we are going to do, I know I haven't even showed you yet what we're doing. We are going to do something that you probably have all seen and thought looked really cool and thought that you'd never be able to do it. I'm here to tell you that yes, you can. So we are stamping our wreath in linen ink. Okay. And from here you can't even see it. So it is very, very light, right? So what we're going to do is we are going to take our pencils and we're going to color. But first we're going to do our color test to make sure this one and this one will go together. So it is ideal if you have sharp points at the beginning. Okay, and I know that you can't see from this distance, but if I bring this up to show you, okay, so we have two different style of leaves, right? We have this little kind of crooked top one, and then we have the long pointy ones, and then we have 3 different blossoms. Okay, so we are going to color the little kind of heart-shaped ones in one color and the long ones in another color, and then we're going to use the next darker shade to give that line in the middle, and maybe add any of the shading where the leaves of the same color kind of overlap. So that would be like right here, maybe here, right? There's a couple different spots where that happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through and outline all of the little kind of heart-shaped leaves. I'm not sure which one that one is supposed to be because it's quite literally both. And we're just going to do that really quick. You do not need to... Otis, stop. Of course, every week. You do not need to be doing this on top of a soft surface. You can. It's not necessary. I just did not move off of it. Okay, so that is all of those. So normally I would now then go through and color all of those in. So the heart ones I did leafy green, and here I'll color in 2 of them so I can show you what I mean. And then for the centers we're going to go with nettle green, and again you want this sharp. I'm just going to come in, and you can kind of see even with the color, even have colored it in, you'll be able to see kind of the line in the center. Not that it wants to focus, but you'll kind of still be able to see the line in the center. Right, so then we're going to do the same thing with the other guys. Start with a sharp pencil. So I have loved cards that use this no line coloring technique, which is what this is called. Loved them for a long time. I personally am not proficient enough in markers, nor do I have a large enough quantity of them. I don't have very many. And while the Spectrum Noir markers are fantastic, there's not quite the variety, at least in my stash anyway, needed to kind of make it be the look that we would be going for. Alright, so coloring into, so this would be one of those sets of leaves that touch, right? And so, you know, put in your vein in the center, and then you can just kind of, just ever so slightly, add a little bit. So you do less pressure on the shadow than you would for the vein, right? And then you're going to go through and you're going to do all of those. Okay. Next up, you are going to, oh, I guess I did not actually use the gray. I tried a couple different things and I didn't like any of them. So, so this is the Rosy Blush, And you're going to come through and you're just going to color in all of the petals lightly. You do not want a heavy hand here in any fashion. Okay, so we have that, and I recommend going through coloring all of them and then coming back and sharpening your pencil. That didn't actually do anything. And then from the center, do some flicks. So that your center is dark, but the edges of your petals are not. Okay. And then you would do that for all 3 flowers. Okay. Super simple, right? You're with me so far. I know you are. Then you're going to cut it out with your die, which unless I color everything, oh goodness. Alright, I'm not going to color everything, but I do need to have the center pieces done. So let me do that really quick. I have lots of the stages done for you, so you didn't have to watch me do the whole thing. I just forgot that kind of middle stage there. And the great thing about the no line coloring, I guess I should do this one up here too, huh? Probably. The great thing about the no line coloring is if you decide to add more leaves or change their shape a little bit, nobody's going to be any of the wiser. Okay. Please stop. No. I know that you think that just because I'm talking, that means you get to talk. But not everybody feels that way. So, now I had a difficult time with figuring out which way was what with this thing. And so what I ended up doing is coming to the carrier sheet, because it has that outline on it, and I found something that I would consider distinctive, something that stood out a little bit. So it's going to be this kind of little divot here, in my opinion, anyway. And so then I just kind of look for that divot, and sure enough, that lines up. So then I can easily transfer that over to my piece, and then get it all lined up. Sorry, I know that was probably very loud. Hello, Rhonda. Thanks for dropping in again. Alright, so you of course would have finished coloring. Right, before we move on to this next step, you would finish coloring. I have set this up because the spacing that I want for these does not work to put them together and stamp them at the same time. So to make things easier, and because I want to stamp things twice, I have set up a jig and I have them on here separately. Okay, so I'm just going to set this in here. I'm going to use my non-stick powder pouch. And then my Versamark. I'm not going to press hard, because that will squeeze out all the ink, and that is not what we want. Right, so now we're just going to flip this around, make sure it's in the corner. Flip this around to make it easier, and repeat. Okay. Did I need to stamp twice? Probably not. But it's something that I do. I'm just going to grab a card base. I should have opened this first. All right. So I'm using the card base to catch my powder. And just tap it off. And we had very minimal excess, which is nice. So I'm just going to grab, these are reverse tweezers that I've had for ages. Close this because that's important. And then I'm just going to heat up my heat gun a little bit before I start actually using it. And then let's see if we can actually capture this on camera. Embossing makes me happy because you can watch it change. And when it's all shiny, you're all done. Right? So I'm going to swap this one out for this one, which is all done and colored and embossed. Right? Super fun. So I'm going to go ahead and, because I know I'm already going to be popping this up, let's go ahead and just add these. I know I'm doing things in a very different order for this card. And there's no rhyme or reason for it, really. Alright, let's put the rest of our card together. Did I tell you what all the sizes were? I think I did. So this is 3.5 by 3.5, 3.5 by 3/8, 1/4. So this is just half of a zip strip by, it's probably cut at 3.5, which is too long because it's, well, no, that should be right. Anyway, those are the pieces that we are using. So I am going to use liquid glue on the zip strip. Just to make things easier to handle. So you could easily do any sentiment on here and just have it be kind of a quick hi hello type of a card. Because it goes together so quickly. Where's my glue? As I was saying, it goes together super quickly. It takes no time at all. The longest bit is the coloring. Oh, I forgot. 2 weeks ago, we did a glue sample. And I forgot until after the end of the video. Then I was going to tell you guys last week. And then I forgot then too. So let's see if I can remember when we're done with this card. So what we did is we were talking about the difference between the two different Tombow glues. And there is a texture difference and a viscosity difference between them. And there's also I forgot the word I was going to use, but as most people refer to it, the green glue gives you the ability to create something that is repositionable. Okay, look at that. Our first card is done. How fun is that? So, the green one gives you the ability to reposition items, and the blue does not. So we did a little scrap, and here, we'll do it this way. So on the left side is the blue glue, and on the right side is the green glue. We put a little mark there so that we would know. And just to give you some ideas, so you can kind of see, right, they're both kind of shiny. So if you had stuff kind of squeeze out when you were using it, you'd be able to see. So blue, not sticky at all. Green is sticky. Okay, so you could make a sticky note or something. But the other thing, you can't do, this was thick when I put it on, so you couldn't do it with this. But you can use this eraser or just like a regular eraser and clean up any of the green glue that squeezes out of your project. You cannot with the blue. It's once it's there, it's there. If you can wipe it up while it's still wet, you can kind of minimize some of that mess or some of that showing. But if it's dried, it's going to be, you know, kind of shiny. So there. Now I remembered to show you. And that's card 1. All right. Let's move on to card number 2. I am all sorts of noisy today. I apologize. All right, card number 2. This card, again, I have stuff pre-done, so you don't have to sit here and watch me color all night long. This card was inspired by a fellow consultant, Gina Brandstetter, and then I made it my own because that's what we do, right? So like you saw me do with the pencils, I did do little color swatches on just scraps of paper so that I could see what colors I wanted to use. So focus. So those are the colors that I used for this. So in case you could not read them, light green blend, citrus blend, light yellow blend, red brown blend, brown gray blend, antique pink blend, pale pink shades, lavender blend, and dull green blend. Okay, I did also use my blender pen, the clear blender pen, and we will be using the Le Pen black journaling pen. Eileen says she can't hear me when I speak, but she can hear the desk noises. I do apologize. I'm trying to be quieter with the desk noises. So, I do apologize. I know some of it's really loud, and I'm sorry. Okay, so this one, we're actually only using one stamp set. And that is the Heartfelt Flowers. So it is available without the thin cuts for $19.95, or you can get it with the thin cuts for $29.95. So these are pretty awesome. They are shown smaller here so that you can see all of them. So they're 75% of actual size. So here is our actual size. So she used this set, and she did the Thanks a Whole Bunch, but I used a different stamp. I used all different stamps than what she did, and then I even managed to change up the design as well. So, but it started off being influenced by her. So, we are going to use both Intense Black and Archival Black on this card. And I'll even show you in advance this time. So this is our card and our envelope. So it actually goes together really quickly and super fast. So let me give you your sizes. And like I said, I do have some things pre-done just to make things a little bit easier. Right, so we have a piece for your envelope. So mine are 2x6 because that fits, as you can see, that fits that space really perfectly. All right, then we have our card base. We have inside piece 4 by 5 1/4, and we have our strip 3/8 by, it's probably at 5 1/2 because that's what the rest of it was at. So I just figured we can cut off the extra little bits. And then we have here we go. We have two pieces that are 1 inch by 5 1/2. Yep. This piece is 2 3/4 by 5 1/2. We have this little, so actually, let me back up a little bit. This is Silver Bells paper pack. So this is a Christmas paper pack. The green is from the most current Mix In pack. And then this concrete looking paper is from the previous Mix In pack. So September, October, of 23. So it's a little bit older. So current March, April Mix In, September, October Mix In, and Silver Bells. So, as I said earlier, everything was available as of earlier today. All right, so this piece is 1.5 by 1 3/4, and then we have 2 white daisy pieces. So this is 4 1/4 by 3, and 1 1/8 by 4 1/4. So pretty simple, right? Pretty simple. Let's move some stuff. To make sure that I had the ability to re-stamp just in case I messed up, I have my MISTI set up. Okay, and so we're going to bring in our larger piece. We're just going to stamp this. Make sure it's in the corner. There's some spots missing, so let's kind of fix that. It appears sorry, I have some glue goobers on here or something. All right, double check that it's in the corner. Ink up again. Making sure to get those spots we missed last time. And stamp again. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to take this out and set it aside. We are going to grab our concrete piece and we're going to put it down here so we can stamp our vase. Perfect. Do not need to stamp again. I love it when that happens. I'm going to grab this guy out so that we can stamp our sentiment. So since we're not using the MISTI for the sentiment and it is a block font sentiment, I am going to use my Archival Black. If I had space in my MISTI, I would use that instead, and then I could just stick with the intense black ink. Mine needs re-inking, and I don't think I'm going to be getting that re-inker. My piece looks crooked. So I just want to double check and make sure that it's not. And it was. Alright, so I'm glad I checked. That's weird. Anyway. Not stamp very well, so let's try that again. Normally I have my mic on the shelf above so it doesn't carry all of the sound, so I apologize for that. I brought it down so that I could do the how-to recording for how to save the workshop files. So if you've not saved the workshop files yet, you're definitely going to want to do that before the end of April, because you will not have access to them after that point. So I'm just doing a quick banner cut. Okay, so that is ready to go. So for our vase, I want to make it look round because it's supposed to be round. So we're going to grab that gray marker and we're going to start with the mid and we're going to move to the light. And then we're going to move to our blender pen. Okay, so we are going to do just underneath the lip because there's going to be a small shadow there, and then at the base. And we're going to come partially up to one side. And then we're going to kind of extend that only just the slightest little bit. Okay, just that. It's that easy. And then you're going to take your blender pen, and I'm going to go ahead and use the big end just because it's easy. And I'm just going to go over it a couple times. And my pen is almost dry, so I'm going to need to get a new one. So it kind of works that all the changes are happening. Okay, so that is how that works. Okay, our flowers, we're just going to color them in, just like you would color in flowers. So I did kind of the same thing here. So the only thing, so I didn't do any real big shading on this. Okay, the only things that I did was with that brown blend, brown gray blend. I did just tiny dots kind of at the base of these little guys, because my first thought was kind of pussy willow, like the white little pussy willow things, although they could have been like eucalyptus, so they could have been green. So either way works. So this is what I did. So I just did a dot kind of where it connects to the stem and left the rest of it white. Okay. And I'm just going to touch on the things that may not be self-explanatory. They might be. So then for our biggest flower here, I took my lightest yellow, the light yellow blend, and I took the light end of that and did just what we did essentially with the pink flowers on the first card, is start at the center, and my ink has not dried yet, so it's going to kind of pull that so that part is unfortunate. Make sure your ink is dry before you start coloring, especially with the lighter markers. So that's what I did for that one. Oh, before I put that away, so I did, no, I'm glad I double checked before I did that. I'm going to keep that out because I'm going to do another flower with that first. Alright, so I took the dark end of Citrus Blend and I did each of these flowers with that. I'm not going to color them in because, like you just saw, it's wet. And then on this kind of daisy looking flower over here, I did one layer of the dark on this pen, and I'm just dotting so it's not rubbing, and then one layer of the dark on that other yellow, so that it would attempt to appear to be a different yellow than our yellow flowers. Okay, next, for the greenery, that one's pretty self-explanatory. I just did different types of greens in different colors. So our long skinny I did this one, so this is Dull Green Blend. Right, so I did all of those of that. And then the middle color, I did these leaves. Right, so all of them that were that style is the middle color. And then the kind of fern-like I did with the dark end of the light green blend. And make sure that you follow your greenery down. Oh look, I missed. That means I probably missed on this one too. Okay, so only just the dark for the fern type leaves. With the pink pale shades, I did the rosebuds. Again in the middle. for the 3 flowers that are similar but probably not actually the same, I did Antique Pink Blend, and on one of them I did the light and one I did the dark, so I'm not sure which one I like better. So I'm going to bring this one because I have it pre-colored for you. So this one I started with the light and then did the darker areas, the middle, and then on this one I did everything the middle and then darkened with the dark. So you could always mix and match. Again, if your ink is not dry fully, then maybe hit it with a heat gun or do dots instead of full marks. And then I did let them dry for a few seconds before I moved on to the darker color. And I just went through and either marked on the lines like I just did, or within the little loop-de-loos in the center on the other one. Hopefully that made sense. All right, next up we have a lavender blend. Yep, I just had to make sure. So I went through and just did the whole flower in the light color. Right, super simple. And then I went back in with the middle color and I just did the centers. So I just did little tiny marks on the centers and then where the petals kind of overlap. Well, not kind of, but where there would be shadows because of that. And then I just went back over with the light color and just pulled from the darker color to the light, and yeah, then sorry, I'm not done with the brown gray blend yet. So this is the red brown blend and I used this for flower centers. And then what I did on this is it doesn't make a huge difference, but it makes a little bit of a difference, and it made my brain happy. Is here in the center, right on these parts here, I didn't want to color them green because there's no greenery to go with. So on these ones I just colored in with the lightest end of the brown gray blend, just to kind of fill that in so it wasn't white and in your face. So I could come up here and do these ones and these spaces and such, but I didn't. So if you want to, you can, or you can just leave it white. Up to you, right? Okay. So that is all of that. So, all right. So magic of television. Right, we got that colored. And there's our sentiment. And I have our vase cut out. And I wanted to show you, I did try it on the black kind of marbly piece. Not sure what you would call it. But you can't see really the lines you just couldn't see the detail well enough for me to be happy with it. So that is why I did not use this one. So this one is all cut out and mostly ready to go. So one of the tricks that I do when I am paper piecing like this, and I can see that I missed a few spots here, is that I will go through and I will line the outside. So I don't know. There you go. So right between my fingers you can see that it's white on the right side and black kind of on the left side. And while it looks like it's not going to make a ton of difference on your card, and it doesn't make a ton of difference, but it just pops your card up to the next level, and it's just a super simple thing to do. If I had a brush marker that was black, I would probably use that, because then I could just essentially do this with the brush. But this one, the ink doesn't come out of the sides like that. So yeah, I do recommend kind of holding it kind of like I was, because then it helps to prevent you from accidentally marking on the front of your project, which I've done a good number of times, right? Okay, so now we're just going to glue this piece on. So clearly I have die cut our flowers out. Now when you are coloring your flowers, remember to color the tiny little triangles that are the inside of the vase. You can see it just a tiny little bit, and I missed it when I was first coloring them, and so I just took the brown game marker and I just touched that in there. Okay, now we get to put it all together. So if you do not like to use liquid glue, right? I know there's a few of you out there that don't like the liquid glue, right? So let's go ahead and put our flap on with a just runner. So a strong runner is best, obviously. And I'm not saying that this is the strongest runner, but I think it should work. All right, so I have 3 lines. I have the very edge and then one in the center. And then I'm going to come to my envelope itself. And I'm going to run tape down the side. Right? Then we have all of our bases covered, and we know that we will have enough coverage to make sure things don't fall off. Right? So just line up with your crease of your envelope and give it a good burnish. All right. And then we just trim. I know it's been kind of a bit since we've actually decorated our envelopes. That's not been intentional. So now this edge might be a little bit tricky because it has that glue all the way to the edge. Stop, please. And so, I don't know about you, but my scissors don't want to just keep moving along that edge when it's got glue on it. So, that's why I cut a little bit and kind of pushed it out, and then cut a little bit and then pushed it out. We're just going to go ahead and flip everything over and add glue at the same time. Simple enough. So, if you haven't crafted before, which I believe that there are some new followers to my page, this little glue runner that I'm using works just exactly like a whiteout runner does. So if you've used those whiteout runners, then you are good. You can do this. So we just did the top and bottom with our green pieces, and then we're going to center our stripe piece, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. We'll bring in this piece over here. Trim that, because remember I said that's going to be slightly too long. Alright. And then we're going to add this to the inside. We are again going to pop this up. Otis, please stop. I don't even know what you're crying about. I don't even think you know what you're crying about. So I know that I want this to be about here, but I also know that it depends fully on how this is going to sit, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the backing for these two, put it on that one so it doesn't cause any issues. All right, so let's make sure this is straight. All right, so I need to make sure that this is centered top and bottom, or at least not extending past either of them. And then I can still read my sentiment, and then go ahead and just tap it and pick it up. And then just use my tape runner. And then take off all of these backings. All right. And then, my friends, we are done with card number 2. How about that? I like it. Hopefully you like it. So now, just to let you know, so for Gina's card, she created a small cluster with these flowers and then used the Thanks a Whole Bunch sentiment, so it was long and skinny. And she had left her card base white, so she didn't use the green pieces, and she used a whole different paperback. Okay. And then she had a pink stripe that was coordinating in the center, separate from her sentiment strip. So very similar, but also very different at the same time. I know that sounds kind of like an oxymoron, but that's okay. All right, our last card. We do have a few supplies because I want to show you how to use things slightly differently than you might. Okay, so we're just using one stamp set today. And we're using it for the sentiment, for the thanks, because I really like that font. So this is the Cozy Up Card Making Workshop. It is still available, $37.95. You make 16 cards with it. They're super cute. Obviously, it is a fall themed paper pack and stamp set. But we can always use the thanks, and the circle can be like whatever. You can do, I wouldn't do these two together, but you can maybe use a different stamp for birthday and do greetings, right? Thanks so much, or just thanks, happy thanks, whatever. There's lots of things. So you don't have to use autumn stamps for only autumn. You don't have to use Christmas paper for only Christmas. Right? So that's kind of what I'm showing you here today. So using the thanks, we are using the 5x7 envelope flap thin cuts. So they are $19.95, and as you can see here, it makes 2 different layers. super fun. All right, we are using the, oh, I'm like, why is this one out? We're not using this piece. I used it for the card that I showed at the beginning of the video. Okay. So we are using this piece, actually, for our card. So these are $9.95. And then, while you don't have to, I wanted to show you a trick with your banner thin cuts so that you can use them on papers longer than what the banner is. So these are still available, $9.95. Again, when I say still available, I mean as of earlier today, not necessarily right at this moment. All right, and we are going to be using Lagoon ink. And let's take a look. Here is our envelope. And here is our card. So this card is inspired by Becca Whitman. She actually made a card in this, in this kind of similar design as a birthday card for Jeanette Linton, whose birthday was yesterday. And I was like, I love that. I love that. So let's do that. So we are using the Skylark paper that's still available. And yeah, it's fun. So like with the other cards, I have some pieces done. So again, we have a piece for our envelope. Sorry, I got the yawns all of a sudden. Okay, so these are our pieces. So we have the card base and envelope from the value pack, right? We have our inside 4 by 5 1/4. And then I need my trusty little ruler. So we have 1/2 inch by 4 inches of the zip strip. We have 3/8 inch by 5 1/2 inches ish, because that's what it was, Lagoon. We have a piece of white daisy that is 2 inches by 5/8 of an inch. A piece of craft that is 2 1/4 by 3/4. So this is going to cut our little tab. And then all of these pieces are from the Skylark kit, or paper pack rather. Eileen says, yay, she bought some before it was reissued and made scrapbook pages, and now she can make cards. Exactly. So we have 1 inch by 2 inches. We have 1 1/2 by 2 1/2. 1 1/2 by 3. And then this one is also 1 1/2 by 4 1/4. So pretty simple, right? So let's do our stamping first, and then I can show you all the little tricks. Things are falling. Make sure that piece is not big enough. So this thanks fits on here just perfectly. Okay, that is all of our stamping. Easy peasy. So I'm not going to cut, goodness, I'm not going to cut the tab piece because I already have that pre-cut. So let's swap that out. Okay. So for our banner pieces, so you can do these individually if you'd want, if you'd like. These two pieces are the same size, and so if you wanted to, you could grab a piece of washi and you could tape them together and then do the trick. And if you really wanted to, it should go through 3 pieces. But you could center that one up. Let's add another piece of washi. Right, so our papers are ready to go. So I am just going to use this little guy so that I can show you. So I'm going to set this down, and we're actually going to thread our paper through. So it's going to go over the back side, under the banner side, the angle side. So we're going to just line this up, making sure that it's as centered as we can get it. If you'd like, you can make a mark and then you can be sure, and then make sure the rest of it is as centered as you can get it. Try not to move anything. Now for me, because of, sorry, everything's moving, because of how much thinner this striped piece is, I actually think I'm going to move that one up. So now you can see that the corners essentially are touching the die of the stripe paper and not down meeting at the bottom where the rest of them are. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so we're under our die here. We are over our die here. We're gonna put our plate on. You can put the plate on all the way across and just not run it through all the way. Or you can do your plates so they're partially covering. And this works with the full-size plates as well. Same concept. This is just a smaller version. Okay, so we are just putting this through, and you can just cut that piece and not run it through, or you can finish running it through and it scared me there for a second because of the washi. But you can see we have banner cuts. It only cut off the end pieces. And we have no marks at the top of our banners. So that is using the banner die for longer paper than what the banner die would normally be able to use. Okay? So now we have those. And then for our envelope flaps, now you can use anything that has stitching on it. Now I could probably, let's see. Oh, that is long enough, so I can. Okay. So this piece, it is longer, but it only needs to be 4 1/4. Okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to take our piece of washi, or 2 pieces of washi, and we're going to put it on the non-cut side of our die, right? Whatever stitching die you want to use, right? Then you're going to take your cardstock with whatever side you want to face up. On your project, you're going to face down, and we're just going to butt this up against the cutting edge, right? Because we don't need it to cut the outside edge. We just want our stitching, right? And then we're just going to go ahead and put this on and just run this through. Right, and so now you have stitching on your piece. So I know that myself, probably like you guys, wanted those decorative shapes that came out with the new book a month ago, almost a month ago, and they sold out right quick. And I believe they're coming in again, but the likelihood of me getting them, honestly, is probably pretty small. So I'm coming up with other options on how to have them. So again, we are going to run our glue at the edge. And in the center. And along both sides. Now if you got glue closer to one end than the other, then put that edge along the fold of your envelope. Especially since we're going to trim that edge just a little bit. I should have done my thanks banner as well. That's okay. We will just do this one like normal. So you could 100% just do this card doing your banners just like that. I just wanted to show you another way you could do it. This zip strip throws me off. Both paper packs, because this was a bring back your pack, and it makes me think that they are not even at all. And I know that's not the case. But that is what it is doing. So this does actually have some words on it. So I'm just going to make sure to put them face up. So we are going to glue our tab. You can kind of do it wherever, but what I have found is if you bring it in just more than 1/8 but less than 1/4, I think, somewhere in that range, then that actually works pretty perfectly. And then we're just gonna kind of butt the, no, we don't want to butt it, we want to overlap it. It's a good thing we have another layer going down. Alright, I'm going to bring in some liquid glue for multiple reasons. One, we need to get that glued down. And then for 2, we need to get this glued down. So we already know that this is too long. And if you don't have glue that you need to mess up, that's best, or glue that you need to hide, mess up you need to hide, whatever combination of words should be there. How about we make it straight? That would be good. Okay. So I'm going to let that dry for a few moments before I cut it. And believe it or not, there's no foam tape on this card. Could you? Most definitely. Now we will probably cut down that thanks banner just a smidge. All right. My bird's upside down. That's okay. All right. So all you have to do is make sure your thanks is actually on your card, and if it's if when you stamp it closer to the far edge, and so it has to extend, right? So it has to extend like that. That's okay too. That's okay. You can still banner cut it and do that, or you can just angle cut it if you wanted to. Almost done. Just gotta glue 2 more pieces. Let's glue this first. this is it for card number 3. So I know I haven't announced anything yet. I'm glad I did that right. When you're doing this, make sure you put your arrows going in the same direction. Gives it a nice cohesive look. Alright, as I was saying, I know that I haven't really said anything yet about what my plans are moving forward, and for that I do apologize. But I do want to let you know that I will be joining Stampin' Up! When my contract with Close My Heart ends at the end of April. So you will still have classes available with me, and we are going to get the Scrapbook Hostess program going again. So those will be monthly pre-cut kits ready for you to assemble, and yeah, I am looking forward to that. There is some great specials that are coming up April 1st, possibly March 31st. Keep an eye on your emails for that. There is some adorable stuff that they are offering, and I know it's going to sell out fast. And but there are some papers, so they are going to do a Journey Color of the Year pack like they have done for Wildberry and Melon in the past. It's even the same patterns on both the B&T paper, the pattern paper, and the cardstock that has the embossing on it. There is also a sticker sheet. There is a coordinating stamp set as well that is actually pretty decent. I know, I sound surprised there. I haven't liked the last couple stamp sets that went with the Color of the Year special, but I do like this one. And there are some adorable stamp sets that are being made available, as well as a few thin cuts. And some of those stamps do also have thin cuts as well. So as soon as I can get the flyer out to you guys, I will do that. I do not have it just yet, and I do not have a specific date on when I'll be able to get that out to you. But as soon as I can, I will most definitely do that. So thank you so much for being here with me for the live video or watching on the replay. I really do appreciate it. I do keep them at this pace so that you guys can craft along with me. I do have kits available for classes. All of the classes that I've done for the last 2 months have kits available. There's not very many kits, but there are kits available. So if you would be interested in a kit, you will make the cards exactly as I show them in the video. It has all of the pieces, does not come pre-stamped, but you either have the stamps or I have stamps that you can use to complete them. So thank you. If you have enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up. Also, if you haven't subscribed, I would love to have you as a subscriber. And if you could share this with your crafty friends, I would really appreciate it. So thank you all so very much. I will see you next week, and it will be April. Oh my gosh. Have a great weekend, and if you celebrate, have a wonderful Easter. Talk to you guys next week. Bye.